Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. One of the most commonly used yet completely false assumptions of proof that we live on a globe is watching ships disappear from the hull up as they go off over the horizon. You may have heard people claiming that roads and rows of pylons appearing to bend down towards the horizon in the distance are also proof of curvature. And of course we all know that sunsets are supposed to be because the Earth is turning and we are watching the sun go down behind a curve. However, it can be easily demonstrated that these assumptions are merely descriptions to fit the narrative that we are on a spinning ball Earth, when in fact all of these observations can be made over a flat surface across a very short distance, which is what we'll see here, looking along this road on top of a dam. This is a straight stretch of road across the top of the dam, and then the road goes around the reservoir. Looking at it from Google Earth, I measured the distance from where I was stood with the camera to where it starts to turn off around the rest of the lake, and we got 650 meters, so just over half a kilometer. Not very far at all. So by putting the camera on the ground, we get a similar perspective to that of someone standing on the shore watching a ship go off into the distance across the sea. Keeping in mind that while any surface in nature can be flat, it will always be rugged and never completely smooth like an artificial surface. So first off, we can see this optical phenomenon going on with the railings, which is exactly the same as what is seen in photographs of the causeway and the power lines going across Lake Pontchartrain in the United States, with the claim that this is proof of curvature, when in fact we can see exactly the same thing happening here with these railings. We are below the railings and they appear to bend down towards this band of convergence. The yellow line is the camera's eye level, and the camera's quite level now, so we can see that there is this band of convergence above what appears to be this horizon line of the surface. But this horizontal line is not where the surface begins to curve away from us in any way. It is just as far as we can see from this low perspective before the surface beyond it begins mirroring. This photograph of a fjord taken in cold weather shows the same optical phenomenon happening at the horizon. The purple line shows where the surface actually meets the shore on the other side of the fjord, but then we have this mirroring beneath that and going down to what appears to be the surface of the water. Even with a relatively high perspective above the ground, we soon get this mirroring and convergence. And we'll see as we bring the camera down that the apparent horizon, that hard line of the surface, will come closer to us. The lower we go, the closer the horizon over a flat surface. The surface is still there, sorry about the camera, but it is now mirroring. And as we lift the camera up again, we'll see the mirroring receding and going back into the distance. I'll bring the camera down again and we'll see the horizon come rushing towards us as the surface beyond it mirrors instead of showing us the actual surface. This is why some people will claim that there is a drop in the horizon over distances and that the surface does not appear to rise to eye level, when in fact it does, and the horizon is always at eye level at any height. However, there is this band of convergence and mirroring just below eye level. So when we look across a vast ocean or across a blanket of clouds from high above, we eventually see this convergence, but there is no background color like there is here with the trees. So we just get this transparent band, making the apparent horizon of the surface appear lower than eye level, making it appear as if there is a drop in the horizon when the surface is still there, but has just become blurred and transparent in our vanishing point. So again, as we bring the camera down, we can see here that the horizon gets closer across this flat surface, and everything beyond it becomes swallowed up in this mirroring and convergence. The railings go back to looking straight again as we gain more height, and the lampposts and the railings are now following the laws of perspective. But as we go down, the railings get swallowed up in this band. As this cyclist rides off into the distance across this flat surface, we'll see the same phenomenon that we observe with ships going off into the distance and assumed to be going down a curve, when in fact we can see that his feet and wheels are now disappearing, but he is also being mirrored by the surface. So we have the surface mirroring half of that, and the actual rider still on the surface and being observed, even though we cannot see his lower half very clearly. And as he gets further away, there'll be this kind of separation of the two, and we are left with just this top half that seems to be floating above this band of convergence or mirroring from the surface. And this, we will see in a moment, is what we actually see at sunset. We see the sun not going down below this apparent horizon of the surface, but we see first this mirroring, and then as it gets further away, it just disappears, just like the cyclist. I'm going to raise the camera and the cyclist will pop back into view, even though he's on a flat surface. There he is. And you'll watch him go round the corner to the left in a second. So this shows that giving ourselves a little extra height over a flat surface will allow us to see a sunset twice. We don't have to be looking down the curve of a ball.
There's going to be an arrow that pops up here, and I'm going to show you right where this arrow points is where the true horizon line is. This is the sun reflecting off the water that's past that water line. That is your true horizon line. And as the sun sinks, or appears to sink, it's not really sinking. But what I want you to do is pay close attention to the size of the sun right now and watch how it blends into its own reflection. It's basically going to disappear into its own reflection. It's going to get smaller within its own reflection. People say that, oh, if the earth was flat, well, you would see the sun get smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, when it gets to this point, it does get smaller, but we don't see it with our naked eyes. And this is why I've done this zoom in video. Now, what you'll see is right here, this is where the magic's going to begin. Because if you watch it on each side, it's going to actually get smaller. It is blending into its own reflection. And you don't notice this standing on a shore. Because most of us, again, we are just in awe of such a beautiful sunset. Now, with the camera zoomed in, everything does go black around the sun. And it looks like a black hole. And all the light is in the center of that black hole. So it ain't really a black hole, it's a light hole. And I put out a different video, and I think I called it Window into Heaven, and I actually showed this. But I didn't really even notice it myself back then. But now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another arrow here. It was a little windy that day, but I waited till this video settled down a little bit, and I put another arrow here to show you where that actual horizon line is. It is there. So what you're actually seeing is the sun is shrinking into its own reflection, and nobody realizes this. Nobody sees this. Now, at the point that I put right about here, actually, is I used the zoom tool. I took that portion of the video from that point to the end of this, to this next transition, and I used the zoom tool, and I zoomed in on it, and I wanted to give you a close-up view and a slow motion view of that sun. Now this is the sun, and it's going to slowly disappear. It's going to do a magic act. It's going to do an illusion. It's going to deceive you because it is going to disappear, but it's going to disappear into the atmosphere. Just like some of my boats that I show that get out to a certain point in the horizon, it disappears back into that mirage, that glass area, that mirroring area, that area that mirrors the sky. So again, I'm presenting this to you as my proof. And again, I don't expect anybody to believe me. They don't have to believe me. But this is what I see. So I've got this thing slowed way down. And this is what I want you to see, how this is working. And how where below this, you can see the visible water line. But up above, or above that water line, you can tell that that is a mirroring of the sky. And this is mirrored from the top to the bottom. If you split that in half, it's just mirroring the sun slowly fading away. Now, I am not a professional photographer, but I think that my videos is going to prove to your own eyes what actually happens to the sun. It is a deception. It is an illusion.